On a summer day in Brooklyn, with the streets hot as a brick oven and smelling like the bottom of a dumpster, you might just snap. You're hot. You're sweating like a broken water main. And everyone else is too, and someone will snap. You don't want to. You've kept that devil way down in the hole. That devil named hate that grows like a weed in the human soul. You know the one. You know you've got an enemies list. You've got charges to levy against them. A litany of abuses, real or imagined, that they've inflicted on you. The ways they've made your daily commute a pain in the ass, or kept you up at night, or ruined your neighborhood. And you just want to snap. And if it's hot enough, and the right shoulder is bumped, or a look lingers half a second too long, you just might. Spike Lee grew up in this world. He's been cataloging its changes for 30 years. His Do the Right Thing from 1989 follows one day in the life of a street in Bed-Stuy, which is not only a black neighborhood in Brooklyn, but the black neighborhood in Brooklyn. Bed-Stuy, do or die, in life and in the film is a bona fide symbol of black dreams and post-war promise, of myths of northern tolerance and the erupted blisters of gang war and urban riot. A symbol of a world only Kafka could devise, where black life in America begins at underprivileged and works its way up to grist for the profit mill, profit by prison trade and drug trade. The America where the poor are not only abhorred, but punished for the sin of being poor. Up and down the Bed-Stuy block, Lee's characters stroll, sit, drink, bitch about the heat, gossip, work their old grudges, search for something cool to ease the pressure, argue, proclaim, procrastinate, and goof off. At the center of a stellar cast of nearly every great black actor of the last 25 years is Mookie, played by Spike Lee himself, a pizza delivery man for the neighborhood's only real white presence, Sal the pizza shop owner. Everyone loves Sal. He's played by Danny Aiello, so how can you not like him? The neighborhood has grown up on Sal's famous pizza, but the pizzeria, like the neighborhood, is a symbol. When Mookie's pal Buggin' Out, played by Giancarlo Esposito, comes in for a slice and notices there are no black people, only Italians, on Sal's wall of fame, he lives up to his name and demands Sal put some black faces up there. His argument is that Sal's Pizzeria has been patronized almost entirely by the black people of the neighborhood for decades. It's just the right thing to do. Buggin' Out tries organizing a boycott of Sal's, but can only recruit Radio Raheem, played by Bill Nunn, who patrols the neighborhood like a holy man with a Cadillac-sized boombox on one shoulder, blasting Forever and Ever Amen, Public Enemy's Fight the Power. When Mookie runs into Radio Raheem early in the film, Lee takes a moment to swing the camera into Raheem's line of sight, so that he's looking directly at us when he delivers a soliloquy about his four-fingered rings. The right is stamped with the word love and the left with hate, and the two struggle hand over hand in the hopes that one day love will win. Lee has lifted this bit from 1955's Night of the Hunter, with the same words tattooed on Robert Mitchum's knuckles. The love-hate struggle is Lee's singular preoccupation and hangs over the film like a big fat question mark. When Raheem and Buggin' Out return to Sal's Pizzeria to reiterate the demand for black faces on the Wall of Fame, the scene explodes in violence. Sal beats Raheem's boombox to pieces with a baseball bat and hurls an epithet at Raheem. The fight spills into the street and cops are on the scene in moments, putting Raheem in a chokehold that leaves him dead. A crowd has gathered and watched the murder but can do nothing to stop the cops. Lee's direction is great here. We feel wild and unhinged. When the cops sense the hate of the crowd turning on them, they scuttle away like rats with Raheem's body. The crowd remains, fury hanging in the air like gas fumes. When Mookie picks up a trash can and hurls it through the window of the pizzeria, he yells the word that's won the day: hate. This is powerful stuff, even today. Timid viewers in 1989 feared the film would cause riots in the theaters, and there were even, ironically, boycotts against the film. I say the responsibility of great art is to be as irresponsible as possible where the status quo is concerned. Lee goes over the top stylistically as often as not, but the situations he presents are horrifically commonplace, and that's why they sting. Lee's rioting crowd invokes the name of Howard Beach, but today it could be Trayvon Martin. When I saw Do the Right Thing 10 years ago, Radio Raheem's murder seemed a cinematic contrivance, but now, with a few years and a lot of miles behind me, I find it sadly plausible. I felt closer to Mookie's anger. I too wanted to see something break and something burn. So did Mookie do the right thing? Would I have? I think Lee has buried an honest-to-God riddle deep in the heart of Do the Right Thing, in the film and in the title itself. The question most often asked, even 25 years later, is, did Mookie do the right thing? But Lee has said that no person of color has ever asked that question. If there's a riddle in the heart of the film, I don't think it has one answer or even a solution, but here's mine. Mookie may or may not have done the right thing by throwing the can through the window. That doesn't matter. What matters is that Sal has done the wrong thing. Sal is in denial about his situation. He's a white guy with two white sons running a pizzeria in a neighborhood of black Americans and Puerto Ricans and Haitians. That's not nothing. In a city of bigoted and violent cops, that's a pretty big something. If the shit hits the fan and the cops come running, who are they going to start hammering with nightsticks? The white shop owners or the black kids around it? Sal's the minority in this world, and every minority knows how to adapt and survive in his surroundings, but Sal doesn't. What would it have been to put a few pictures of Malcolm X and MLK on the wall? That would have been an act of love for the people who kept him in business. Sal claims to love his patrons, but he has a responsibility he's either unaware of or stubbornly refusing to accept. What does his eldest son, played by John Turturro as the embodiment of hate, say about him as a father and as a person? When confronted with the belligerent duo of Buggin' Out and Radio Raheem at the film's end, what would it have been to say, sure, I'll put some pictures on the wall, now everybody have a slice and call it a night? It would have been an act of responsibility, and it would have been the right thing. Instead, Sal cuts loose with an act of hate that leads to Radio Raheem's death. It could be argued that Mookie actually saves Sal from a worse punishment by directing the crowd's rage towards the pizzeria. Even the street's resident drunk, played by the great Ossie Davis, doesn't hesitate for a second. He pulls Sal and his sons out of harm's way simply because it's the right thing to do. The film's finale has Mookie and Sal standing at the ruins of the pizzeria, their conflict unresolved, only exhausted for the moment. Did Mookie do the right thing? Did Sal? As if even to dismiss the question, as if to say they represent archetypes of mingled love and hate in the human soul, Lee has Mookie return 2 decades later in Red Hook Summer, still delivering pizzas and wearing a Sal's Famous t-shirt. They're probably still arguing. I think that Lee has built Do the Right Thing as a kind of ingenious Rorschach test. Your response to the film gauges something about you. He is challenging you to consider your own automatic reactions, a classic but subtle provocateur. I don't buy all of his plot contrivances, which sometimes feel like the hand of the author nudging his work toward propaganda. But he's too good a filmmaker, too in love with his medium and his characters, to let them be anything but fully alive and thriving. And his endgame has nothing to do with black and white, but with the struggle in yourself between love and hate. This is one of the great films in cinema history.
Oh, no doubt about it, man. Revisiting this, Billy, you know, it's funny you said that, you know, a period of 10 years has gone by since you first watched it or last watched it.
Yeah. I'd only seen it once before this.
Yeah, and it's so funny. I've seen this a few times, but this past time, it really became a bit more personal to me. For ridiculous reasons. One, I do work in a pizza shop in a really bad neighborhood in Perth Amboy, New Jersey. So when it is hot out during the summertime, I see the anger.
People get nuts, man.
Yeah, and you come into the shop, and it's even hotter inside the shop. And, I mean, I've had to deal with crazy, crazy things where I don't know what's going to happen. Like, I mean, an African-American man came in one time and asked for a slice of pizza. Our policy at the time was we didn't sell slices. And the guy literally looked at me crazy-like and he said to me, he goes, "Why aren't you going to sell me a slice? Because I'm black?" And I don't even know what to say to something like that, you know?
Yeah.
And it's hot, and you're already upset that you're at this piss-poor job doing this piss-poor work, and then you have all this tension between different races. I mean, because where I'm at, it's black, it's white, and it's Puerto Rican, and it's just mixed up, man, and people get angry. So watching this now for the first time in a few years, but I've always loved it. Whenever it comes on HBO, I always pop in. I agree with you, Billy. This is one of the most important movies, but again, you know, it became a bit more personal to me. You know, you asked the question, does Mookie do the right thing? And there's always been this discussion about this film, about the scene at the end when he throws the garbage can through the window. Why did he do that? Did he do it out of anger? Did he do it to incite the riot, or did he do it to save Sal?
Mm-hmm.
And you say that it doesn't matter. Is you know, or
I just think that it's, you know, in a, you know, over the last couple years, it's become insanely clear to me how little white people actually consider Black America. There's an entire world within this country, and very often it's the third world. It's third world conditions. It's third world apartment buildings,
right,
and third world trash piling up in the streets. And even when it's not that, I mean, that's the cliche stereotype of black life in America that white people think of most of the time. But even when it's not, even when you're dealing with middle class black America, white people just aren't interested. They don't pay attention. They don't ask questions. They're not curious about how the other half of this country is living. And so, of course, when it comes to a movie like this, they don't even pay attention to the fact that this kid just got nightstick strangled to death. They think, did Mookie do the right thing by throwing the trash can through the window? Well, Sal is the one who's responsible for his presence in that neighborhood. He won't move. He refuses to move out of the neighborhood,
Right.
which is fine. But, you know, quite literally, if you can't stand the heat, get out of the kitchen. If you're going to be that presence in that neighborhood, you have to be aware of what your presence means. And he doesn't. And, you know, what would it have been for, you know, there's going to be hotheads coming in and challenging him.
Absolutely.
If he's not prepared for that, if he's not a cool enough customer to deal with that situation, then he needs to get out. And, you know, not seeing that, not being aware of
Right.
the repercussions of that, you know, I'm not saying he deliberately gets the kid killed or anything like that, but he sets off a chain reaction that could very well happen and does happen.
Yeah, and that's
you know?
and that's what exactly. And that's what
It's like the argument: did Trayvon Martin do the right thing, or did what's his face? What's the guy's name who shot him?
Martinez or Zimmerman? Yeah,
Zimmerman, yeah.
Right.
You know, the whole situation itself. I mean, Lee's the perfect director to handle something like that because the situation itself is tragic. The way the conditions are set up and the way society responds to it are tragic. I can't tell you how many conversations I had, you know, over the last year of visiting friends and family in Florida and, you know, talking about that and seeing the different opinions, you know. But the sad fact is that's realistic. To this day, the situation in Do the Right Thing is realistic,
Right.
you know?
Right.
So.
Yeah. Joe, you know what's amazing, what Billy said too, was you know, there are parts of this movie where these circumstances take place, and by the way you react to them and how you feel about them completely tells you about your own character.
Yeah.
And that's amazing filmmaking, dude.
Yeah, Rorschach test. Yeah, absolutely. Because you could just like what you guys are talking about is that you could look at it in a lot of different ways. Like, well, why are they insisting on putting a picture up on Sal's wall? Why should he be why should he be beholden to put up anything on his wall? It's his wall, right? I mean, he says he's part of the community and all that, you know. So the thing is that the situation exists, like what you guys are saying, and it's a difficult situation. There's no easy answer.
When you relate almost journalistically how things happen in the real world, you're presenting a problem that the audience has to think about and which does not have resolution. And Lee ends the film with two completely opposing quotes, one from Malcolm X and one from Martin Luther King, one advocating violence, the other deploring it. And that's, you know, his whole point is to make you think about it, not to give you an answer. He's saying this is the situation, and this does happen every day. So what do you think about it? What are you going to do about it, you know?
Yeah. I mean, what I was struck with watching this film is how he just he's not afraid to present things as they are.
Right.
And he shows them unblinkingly, because the whole time he's presenting essentially ethnic stereotypes, and he's not afraid to say that, you know, stereotypes exist.
That's right.
Or reason.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he's
even with his own race.
Well, and
exactly.
One
Exactly.
other thing I want to say, and then I really want to hear what Adam and Max are thinking. But I just watched Red Hook Summer a couple days ago as well. I hadn't seen it before, and I watched it with my girlfriend. You know, we both live in Brooklyn, and we know these neighborhoods. Every place that Spike Lee is filming, we know the streets, we know the shops, everything, and we were just blown away at what balls that guy has, that he must get, and I've never read up on this, but he must get so much shit from politically correct black people in America for basically exposing the skeletons in the closet and unflinchingly saying, you know, these are our problems too. Like, we can all, problems that white people have are legitimate. Racism, you know, from white people is legitimate, but we got problems too. And oh my God, man, that movie just, like Red Hook Summer just blows the lid off of some stuff that, you know, he's so, over the course of the movies that I've seen him make, you know, not so much the Hollywood mainstream stuff, but his more personal stuff, just amazing how fair he is to every single character in his movies most of the time, you know?
Well, it's interesting you say that too, because he actually, I mean, he's become like a director for hire.
He's done that but he's done that.
Which is weird. I just really
you know?
find that strange.
But he'll always go back to this.
But why is he even doing any of that stuff? Like,
I think it's fun. He is a hardcore film lover. I mean, the fact that he lifted the love and hate bit from this 1950s, basically sort of American Gothic fable, Night
of the Hunter.
Night of the Hunter. It's the only film ever directed by Charles Laughton, and it's an absolute goddamn masterpiece. But he loves film too much to limit himself to being a social filmmaker or some label like that, right?
So you think doing Inside Man and Old Boy is something that he just wants to just make a popcorn movie? I don't.
I believe he would. I believe he loves popcorn movies. I think he loves. Right. I can't imagine him not loving Hitchcock as much as Sidney Lumet. I mean, Sidney
it's also the friends
are so similar in the way that they've addressed the urban situation. You know, Sidney Lumet was making movies about Jews and Italians and Irish and Puerto Ricans. You know, and Spike Lee has picked it up and made those movies too. But both of those guys, you know, you don't love movies without wanting to do a blockbuster at some point. No one does.
But also you have the Francis Ford Coppola model where, you know, you go and make a picture for hire so you can go out and make a Red Hook.
Right.
You go out
you can make one success and fail for 10 years afterwards, and it's going to be okay.
Exactly.
A lot of actors do that too. I know what you're saying. Like, you know, you'll see actors do a big movie and then they lend themselves out for like 4 or 5 other movies, basically, you know, because they made a lot of money. Like Christopher Walken made a living doing that kind of stuff, where he would do a huge movie and then the rest of the year he's just making these like little independent pieces. So I kind of hear what you're saying, because that was on my mind, man. Like, you know, going over all the Spike Lee stuff, I'm like, you know, it just seemed to me like after Summer of Sam, it just kind of like, you know, there's these movies in here that just weren't personal. It seemed like everything up until Summer of Sam was like personal film, and then he kind of fits in 2 or 3 other movies the past 10 years that just don't make sense to me.
I mean, I look at Scorsese. He's done the same thing. You know, like he has no problem, you know, embracing the Hollywood genre film, you know, like Cape Fear or you know, was it Hugo and that kind of stuff. But he still manages, and I think Spike Lee's doing the same thing. I mean, Inside Man struck me as being fairly critical of the finance industry under the radar, and power and control of finance in New York. But it's still a genre film, you know, and it's really good. I enjoyed Inside Man a lot, you know, as a genre film. And Scorsese's doing the same thing. You know, Hugo is a kid's fantasy, but it's about film preservation, you know, something personal to Scorsese. So.
I hear you. I do want to get Max and Adam are both here with us. I do want to get Max in here because Max, I think...
What?
I think it was sometime last year. I looked up on the Cutting Room schedule, and Max, didn't you want to do a Spike Lee show?
Yes, I did.
There you
go.
But
you all decided you didn't want it. you all, the administration of the Cutting Room done said no. Italian man didn't want to talk about the black man.
That was Christiana, I believe.
What?
Christiana, that's an Italian man. And he represents John Turturro's.
That's right. Joe is kind of like
right.
John Turturro.
He is.
Absolutely.
They're like identical twins.
John Turturro's don't want anybody talking about Spike and Spike movies. Ain't nobody talking about Crooklyn on the Cutting Room.
No, never.
Hey, Max, thank you for bringing that up. I wanted to ask if you guys had seen Crooklyn.
I've never seen Crooklyn.
No, I really want to now. I'm
so
really curious.
You know, Max and I, 20 years ago when that film came out, we were both living up in Seattle. And we went to go see that movie in the theater. And as stereotypical as this is, We were downtown Seattle, and it was a very ethnic crowd. And we left maybe halfway through that movie because we couldn't hear what the hell was going on the screen. I mean,
Could not hear a Slovo.
I've only ever walked out of like 2 movies in my life because they were so bad. This was not that case. I didn't even know what the hell was going on. I couldn't hear what was going on. We walked out, got our money back. And I never saw it again until about a year ago. And my wife had been always talking about it. She loved this film. We sat down, and it has just that Bill, as you were saying, the theatrical sort of feel to it, almost stagey,
like an operetta or something.
Very much. In fact, the whole
Isn't there a musical number at the end with RuPaul leading like a dance? Or something on the street.
The whole thing is done. It feels like it obviously is set, but the whole thing is done in vignettes, basically, and it's just this, and it's all through a young female character's point of view. And honestly, I think it's brilliant. I think you guys would love it. It's and it's definitely a personal movie. My God, it's one of his more personal movies, I think.
Every time he goes to Brooklyn, it's like he's returning to his family, kind of,
Absolutely. So, Max, I'm sorry that was a tangent. You can go back to your old black man tyrant.
Yeah, to your Ozzie Davis.
Funny how when I starts talking, Adam Shoulders chimes in with other things, and I gets brushed under the rug.
I'll tell you this. I will tell you this,
Here we
fellas.
go.
Rosie Perez.
Oh, my God, Billy.
Juicy.
See, now you just derailed me.
Juicy.
Ice.
That is one of...
Ice.
Ice.
That is probably... I'm going to go out on a limb. Outside of the slow pan in to Alex and the Droogs, I think that is the second greatest opening in the history of cinema.
Yeah.
I had completely forgotten that, and when I put it on to watch, it was like my hair was blown backwards. I was like, Jesus Christ, that's an amazing opening.
It's so funny, too, because it's an ode to Bye Bye Birdie or something, isn't it?
That's what I heard. I've never seen that movie, though.
Yeah, I've never seen it either, but I read that, doing, research in this film, and I was like, oh, boy, that's odd. But Max is right. I mean, from the moment you hear Chuck D, Flavor Flav, and the S1Ws going at it, and this beautiful, beautiful Latino woman is dancing, different outfits. I mean, it's captivating, Max.
Max, you were going to say something else, though, but before I derailed you about Rosie Perez. Now, try to stop thinking about Rosie Perez for a second. Get your hand out of your pants. What were you going to say?
I was going to say I want to taste her lunch, but the other thing I was going to say, Spike Lee started with a beat, and he couldn't find it. There was something. There was a beat inside him. It went back to the old tribal days. It went back to Africa. It went back to his purest roots as a black man. And he couldn't express it yet, so he called upon Chuck D, and he said, Chuck, I need an anthem. And Chuck D wrote an anthem for Spike's new film, Do the Right Thing. And Chuck sent it to Spike. And Spike said, this isn't it. It's got to be something else. I know you can do it. I believe in you. And Chuck went back in the studio, and he meditated on it, and he went back and forth with Spike. Well, what do you mean? What is it you really mean? And Spike just started throwing out the themes. Summer, anger, what's wrong with the world? What's this? What's that? And Chuck went in the studio with Public Enemy, and they came out with Fight the Power, and that led the film. And Spike used that song. He would just play it during breaks just to keep people in the mood. And I want to tell you something else about Spike Lee. This is a guy who you don't need to go to film school. You don't need to go to USC or Cal Arts or NYU. This guy used to write journals about his films, about how he made his films. He'd put the screenplay out there, but then he would write these really intense personal reflections about how much of a struggle it was to convince people to give him money to tell the story, and how he had his actors. Everyone wanted to work with Spike because he was so exciting. After She's Gotta Have It, he was so exciting. And this was the big first personal movie. And you wouldn't believe. I mean, it's a testament to to all black people how the struggle continues, the resentment continues, the what are you doing continue. And it's so funny for me because as a almost 44-year-old pasty freckled white man, I am one of the few people you may or may not know that wishes I was black sometimes, because there is something about the black culture. There is something about the humor and the food and and some people say this is racist, but I'm telling you, I am a wannabe black person. And every time I see Do the Right Thing, it could be a reincarnation thing. It is one of the most exhilarating, celebratory, cinematic-wise, electrifying films you could ever see in your life.
Yeah.
And it just gets better with age. And it's so funny how you would think that this thing would be dated.
It's not. No.
It gets more and more, and it's almost as if Spike had a third eye when he made this fucking thing.
Yeah, I
'Cause
kind of
this
feel
film-
like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's more pertinent now, like you said, Billy. It's more pertinent now than ever before. Even not just with black people and Trayvon Martin or with anything, with gays, with this, with that. This thing is so universal and so important. Oh,
You know, hearing what you're saying, Max, and hearing Billy, what you guys were saying, I think what's so wonderful about this film is that it's the thing that we keep getting to over and over with the films that we love the most here, is that it doesn't give the answer. It asks the questions. It's not
Spike's
saying
letting us use our brains.
Yeah, he's just
It's a
saying
mystery. There's a mystery in it that you keep coming back to, you know?
Yeah, who did the right thing? What is the right thing to do? And that's the point of the film, is that you should eternally be asking yourself, am I doing the right thing? You know, and you know what, Sal even says at the end, he's like, do what you gotta do. You know, and you do what you gotta do, and then you should always be questioning yourself, did I do the right thing? Was it the right thing to do? And that's what makes this film always be pertinent.
Sal has to be saying that to himself during that morning. Did he do the right thing with the decisions that he made?
Right,
you know?
Of course.
And you're listening to Fight the Power over and over again, and it just seems like, you know, the main struggle here in that neighborhood is about power, and it's about Sal having the power to put up whoever he wants on his wall, and the people of the neighborhood who live in the neighborhood, they're not.
And his wall unfortunately becomes a symbol of it. That's and because he's the only presence there,
but he has the power as a white man to do what he wants in his store, and he has the right to do that. He's absolutely right in that sense. But at the same time, Spike Lee doesn't give anybody a free pass. You know, those three black guys are there, it's because we're black. It's because we're black. The guy's like, I don't want to hear that shit anymore. That's bullshit.
Right.
And just the same way is that Raheem and the other guy bugging out is they're treated basically as buffoons because they're petty. They're just as petty as Totoro's characters.
Spike Lee sets it up brilliantly with them, with the white dude with the bicycle who steps on bugging out Sneaker. They look like fools. And
John Savage.
Yeah, John Savage. Yeah, right. And they mess up his sneaker, and even with Frank Vincent. You know, when he's driving through the neighborhood and they have the fire hydrant going, you know Spike Lee makes the people of that neighborhood look like fools sometimes. You know,
of course, because they are fools, because they're blaming everybody else, and he has no patience for that shit. You know,
right.
He doesn't want to hear anybody blame over and over. Of course, there's problems, but what are you going to do about it?
And again, and he's asking questions.
Yeah, and what it comes down to is that, one, he's asking the question. He's asking us to ask the question. And so on a thematic level, it's brilliantly successful. But on a technical level, he's just a great dramatist in that he's giving all sides equal weight and showing us their motivations, like as if everybody has the right and is perfectly reasonable for behaving the way they do, even to a certain extent. Raheem and bugging
Right,
out when they're
that's what I'm saying.
as petty as they're
Right,
being. Yeah.
right. That they're powerless in their own world. You
Yeah,
know,
and
and
so
that's
there you have the
frustrating
heart-
to people.
Right. So there you have the heart of drama. You know, two righteous motivations coming up against one another. You know what I mean? And that's great
Yeah.
that he found it
Right,
like that. man.
right. Yeah, power. I mean, because even Totoro and Edson, I mean, it's all about Totoro trying to have this power, you know, over his brother. It's just so weird, man. It's a great piece of work. Adam, I haven't heard anything from you yet. I want to know how you feel about Do the Right Thing. I mean, is this something that's been with you for a few years now?
Well, it's a great film, obviously, as you guys have said, and Spike Lee, when he makes those sort of community-based films, Do the Right Thing and Crooklyn and you know, Jungle Fever and movies like that, it's interesting because, you know, as we're talking about who did he do the right thing, but and I think we all like to think that there is this sort of moral compass that is applicable to everyone, and it's just sort of this human moral compass. And you know, in a perfect world there would be, but I think that it is so dependent on people's individual, you know, belief systems and philosophies, and as Spike Lee kind of puts it out there, the community and how much community can affect it. So what is the right thing for one person is completely different for another, and it's interesting how a community can affect that. I mean, you guys brought up Trayvon Martin, and you know, my wife spent some time growing up in Florida. Her family's still out there. I've spent some time out there. I get Florida, and it's like, even still, when that case was going on, I was just thinking, you know, there's just no way, even though Florida's Florida, there's no way they're going to let this guy walk. There's just no way. And then when it happened, it just like reinforced that to me. And I remember my mother-in-law made this. My mother-in-law her boyfriend is black, and in a conversation about it, her attitude about that whole case was, well, yeah, but you know, that kid, he was walking around, he had that hoodie on, and like, even her, who's you know, not racist, she's dating a black guy, and still, that was, you know, she was
He
sort
had
of
that hoodie on.
You know, Joe, Ron, and me, we all wear those hoodies. We're gonna get our asses shot off one day. That's for sure.
It's like,
Like, I wear a hoodie. I've worn a hoodie every day for the past 5 years, for crying out loud. You know, for real.
out of Florida.
Ay, ay, ay.
But I mean, yeah, and that just kind of blew my mind, because it's like, wow, it's like, you know, I think part of the reason that movie is not dated. Well, first of all, I think when you make a stylistic movie like that helps a lot of times its longevity and just cinematically. But topically, it's not dated because racism is still, running rampant through this country. And when Barack Obama was elected president, so many people were saying, well, that's it. You know, we finally kind of made it. You know, racism is dead. We've elected a black president. But I can't tell you how many
Just
people
died like that.
Yeah, that's it. It's over. That's it.
Yeah.
I have a theory that there's actually different types of people. That, you know, there's all kinds of humans, and then there are politicians. So even if the politician happens to have a black color, I think that he's not actually human.
It's still a politician.
Like there's everybody on Earth, and then there are politicians.
They're robots.
They like stand separate, and then I don't think that they count.
They are genetically different creatures. But at the same time this guy's getting elected, I can't tell you how many people that are like, you know, just rational, normal people, you would think, were all saying, I bet he doesn't, but I bet he's assassinated before he's even elected. He's not going to make it through 1 year. It's like, why? Because he's black? Right. And then even to this day, you read, you know, news stories on, you know, Yahoo News or any online service, and then you read the comments, and it's like, wow. If anything, I think his election exposed, you know, how deeply entrenched this country is in its racism.
It's so funny, Adam, because like people could be so rational and normal in most parts of life, and then they say crazy shit like that. They believe in God, and like, you know, it's just it's completely insane.
It was actually really a nice way to see how imaginative, you know, racists can be with their coding of their racial slurs and like the different words that they can use.
I genuinely believe there is sort of a like a societal or a cultural mental illness in this country, and probably beyond the borders of this country, with things like racism, that it's so deeply entrenched, and it's so impossible to have a rational, reasonable argument about it with someone who has that belief system, that it almost presents like some kind of mental illness. And you know, I don't know what can be done about it, but I think Spike Lee in many of his movies has done a great job taking it on, using the language of cinema to take on that topic and do the right thing, certainly being the preeminent one.
Well, I think actually probably the best thing that could happen is what we started talking about during our AIDS show, oddly enough, is that to just bring it out into the open and be aware of it is the first is the way to, and just like what Billy was saying, how unaware we are, just to open your mind and to look into it sometimes, or to, you know, just to consider it and contemplate it and just be aware of it, I think is probably. But that, you know, that said, and that's what's great about what Spike Lee does, especially with a film like this, is that he's making us aware of the situation more in a dramatic sense as it exists.
Yeah, and by the way, Max is way ahead of us in this, because he already wants to be black, so he's already got a jump start on us.
Silence.
He's been doing this all night.
I love it. He's been doing this for the past few shows.
No,
he's staged a boycott of the cutting room, like Radio Raheem and Bugging Out.
But Joe, it is funny that, you know, we're talking about racism, and Billy mentioned before, it seems that, you know, there's this large white society that just doesn't, like, they don't have an idea of what it's like to be, I mean, not just black, but just like anything besides white, you know?
Well, it gets easier and easier to insulate yourself, you know. I mean,
but they're kids, they all want to be black, though. You know.
Oh well, yeah. That's.
Can I say something?
Now he wants to talk.
I'm sorry, my microphone was on mute and I couldn't find my mouse.
I think Max puts his microphone on mute because, like, when we're talking, he's like just making fun of us the whole time. That's my paranoid theory. Like, when we're discussing stuff, he has his mic on mute and he's like.
I just can't stop thinking about Rosie Perez since Billy left.
Yep.
That's my problem, actually. No, you guys, Spike Lee. This is a very funny man, because a lot of times he says things and thinks things that hurt. I want to put it this way: if I ever met Spike Lee, I would feel like inferior to him, because I know that he's looking at me some way. Because I gotta say, you have to admit. Do we admit? I do. I see it. Is there a little bit of reverse racism going on sometimes with Spike, especially in later life? Because he shows up a lot as a commentator on stories like Trayvon Martin. He's on CNN all the time. In fact, I've been a little obsessed with this Donald Sterling thing because it's so fucking funny to me. And the fact is, you know, the black community out here in LA, there's a lot of anger, but I think Magic Johnson epitomized the reaction so beautifully. He's just laughing so hard at Donald Sterling, and that's what people should be doing. Black people should be laughing at Donald Sterling. The Clippers, and Adam would know much more about the Clippers than I do, but the Clippers are not in bad shape as a team. In fact, they probably have much more support now, considering this piece of shit's, you know, psychotic, dementia-related, you know, interviews where he won't shut the fuck up. But Anderson Cooper interviewed Donald Sterling on CNN, and I got to tell you, it's an hour of some of the most glorious television you'll ever see. Because there's this Donald Sterling, and he has hairs growing out of his face, and he has dyed awful hair, and he's sitting there going, I don't know what I did wrong. Magic Johnson, what has he ever done? He got AIDS. Magic got AIDS. He went around the country and screwed everyone, and he got the AIDS. I mean, how are we taking this piece of shit seriously, A? B, Magic gets on the next night with Anderson Cooper. Anderson Cooper is showing Magic the footage of Sterling, and Magic is laughing and shaking his head. And it's like, yeah, it's too bad. He don't know who I am. He doesn't know what I've done. And you just want to fucking hug Magic. Black people win. Magic wins. We all know that Donald Sterling's a loser. He doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. But then they throw Spike in there. And you've got to see Spike's reactions, because I think Spike's brain is a little tired. I think Spike might be feeling like, you know what? I can't be the guy that is defending black people anymore, because he's
almost 60 years old too. You know, he's getting old. Yeah,
he slurs a lot. Anderson Cooper played the footage for Spike, and Spike just sat there with those thick glasses, you know. And I think. Okay, well, the first thing I think someone needs to do, just tell him to not talk. Somebody need to tell that old nasty motherfucker to not talk. You know, it's just like, I do wish he would go back to more personal films. I wish he would make the Donald Sterling story, because I think it would reinvigorate him.
The Donald Sterling story.
Well, he did last year or 2 years ago. He did that Red Hook Summer. I tried to watch it, Billy. I couldn't fucking get past like a half hour of it. Was it worth sitting through? What's going on with that film?
It's pretty bad. I mean, it's super duper low budget. It was shot in like 2.5 weeks or something. And, yeah, it's really, really rough. I mean, but
it's really video-y too. Like, it's real video looking and like.
Yeah, it's like every scene is like one take, you know, and the acting isn't great and so forth. But, you know, it's just, I love that this guy's going in with a camera and basically still at his age doing guerrilla filmmaking and, you know, pointing his camera at stuff that not everyone, he's paying attention to the shit no one else is paying attention to, you know? And I love that, you know, and at his age and with the prestige that he could carry to just do, you know, he could be doing all comic book movies right now, you know? He doesn't. So, and it's, you know, if you don't live here, I think it's just probably unbearable. But it was tough. It's a curiosity piece for me in one regard. But then there's scenes inside the church that are really, really powerful. And he uncorks, he pulls the lid off a big pile of stink in that community, you know. So it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, I sat down and I had, you know, a night to go and watch a Spike Lee movie, and I started watching that one, and I was like, oh no, this isn't the one I want to watch, because it was just so, like, the acting was bad. It looked really like I don't want to say student film.
It looks like a student film. It's totally
but I mean, I love it. I mean, I don't. That doesn't diminish what I think about him or anything. And then I put on The Kings of Comedy, which like seems very dated.
I love that movie.
It's and I was like, all right, this isn't the movie I want to watch. And then I put on Clockers.
Oh, nice.
And I was fucking blown away, dude. That is a fucking.
Now, Joe, I read that.
That's a Richard Price book, and Richard Price
had a tough time with that film.
Fantastic.
I thought it was friggin' brilliant, man, and I think that it did what a glaring omission out of Do the Right Thing, which was the plague of drugs and drug use in urban areas like that. I mean, it is just glaringly missing out of Do the Right Thing, and it was almost too obvious. It was almost too much, you know.
Right.
But I think that goes to, you know, what he's stylizing the neighborhood, you know what I mean? And so that didn't fit in with his dramatic construction, and I get that what he made is a really tight piece with Do the Right Thing, and I think he probably made amends for it with Clockers by taking a really fucking hard look at what's going on there, man. I mean, it's another masterpiece, and it's almost as good as Do the Right Thing.
That was supposed to be a Scorsese-De Niro collaboration too, Clockers, and it wound up becoming...
oh, I'm so glad he did.
Yeah,
it
wound up falling in Spike. I know Scorsese's credited as a producer.
Yes,
but it fell into Spike Lee's lap. I remember watching Crook. I saw that in a theater, Joe, and I really remember just being because I remember Delroy Lindo from Malcolm X, but his performance in Crooklyn really just stuck with me.
Yeah, it's a really fucking great movie, man.
You know?
Hey guys. What about Malcolm X? I think that film is. I think it annihilates everything that he's done.
It's great. It's a great one. I'm with you. I think it's a fantastic film.
I think it's his best film.
I like Malcolm X a lot, but I actually think that Lee casting himself in his movies that only works for the first couple movies, and then I actually think that him playing Mookie in Do the Right Thing is a nearly fatal flaw. The first time I see it, he's not a great actor, and and the whole time you're just I'm looking at Spike Lee, that's not Mookie. I'm looking at Spike Lee, and the character, I get the feeling that I know the character that Spike Lee's trying to play in that movie, but I don't think that he plays it properly. I just think he should have cast another actor.
It's so funny. If there's a flaw in Do the Right Thing, it's that lead could have been played by someone better than Spike Lee.
Right, and in the same problem goes for the early passages for me of Malcolm X, where there's the whole Zoot Suit period, which is really, it's fascinating to see that about Malcolm X. But the fact that again Lee is you're playing next to Denzel Washington, dude, for real, that just. Stay behind the camera. I just feel like it doesn't work,
Right. Not only is he playing next to Denzel Washington, but probably in what could be Denzel Washington's most important role in the history of his career.
Right. And there's Spike even gives himself the most awkward close-up in the film where there's a Zoot Suit swing dance scene on the dance floor, and then he comes sliding across the floor and right up into the camera.
Yeah, you're right.
For real. But everything beyond that, the movie, for my money, gets better and better as it goes along. To the point that his pilgrimage to Mecca was just one of the most amazing scenes.
That's the thing.
Documentary almost.
Right. Yeah. That's the thing about Malcolm X. Excuse me one second, Adam. Is that it? And look, and it doesn't surprise me that someone like Spike Lee really gets the autobiography of Malcolm X. This is a book. Malcolm X is really one of the first books that I fell in love with as a young man. I read it when I was young.
Great.
Yeah, I read it. I read it and I loved it, and it was.
Which one is that? Is that the biography that it started out as kind of an autobiography, but then he died, and the guy that he was writing it with,
Alex Haley. Yeah.
Okay, there's two that Spike Lee. I think there's two books that Spike Lee really followed, and that was one. So that's the one that you read.
Well, it's clear it's mostly the Haley stuff because there are just scenes that I remember from the book that played in my head, and then I watched Spike Lee put them into into the film, and it was just wow. It's this is exact. It was one of those instances where I was this is exactly how I imagined it. It blew me away when I saw Malcolm. And I was only 18 or 19 when I saw Malcolm X in the theater. I read the book when I was 15 or 16, and I think it was mostly the Alex Haley stuff, right, Max? As far as I know, you loved the movie too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh God. Yeah. What?
Huh?
Let's talk about Rosie Perez.
Did you lose your mouse again?
Rosie
Perez.
Wait till after the show to jerk it to Rosie.
Let's just talk about Rosie for a second. I want you
Thank
guys
God
to imagine.
for the left nipple. Thank God for the right nipple.
I want you guys to imagine after the final cut when she's wearing that spandex blue jumpsuit and she goes backstage and how easily it peels off her soft, sweet tan, Latin, golden skin. And underneath that, she's probably got a dirty little G-string on. And just imagine Rosie.
Just stare at Max's profile picture while he's narrating this, Tom.
Just imagine Rosie. Here's the best thing. When you go down on a girl and you start to pull her panties down and she gives you the lift, she lifts up her hips and ass so you can get the panties off and lift them up over the inner thigh, that lift. Just imagine you're behind Rosie and she's got that gorgeous Latin funkadunk in your hands, and it's just you're feeling it, gently squeezing it. This is in the dressing room right after that scene's cut, and she's already pulled off the blue suit, and you grab hold of the G-string and you pull it down, but because there's been a wetness, it holds on. The fabric holds on to her labia, and so the G-string sides, around her hips are going way down, but for some reason the little cotton jelly pad that's holding onto her pussy is stuck there, and then there's that little snapback, and it goes down to her knee level and then completely off. Oh!
And
Max, I was already picturing that before you said it.
And how great was she in Fearless? Where is this
What
woman?
a performance!
Oh,
Oh,
Fearless,
my God.
Fearless, I love me some Peter Weir, man. She was also a dance choreographer for the Fly Girls on In Living Color.
That's correct.
Big In Living Color fan.
That's hilarious.
She was in Pineapple Express recently.
Right, she
not,
was.
not so recently.
Was she?
Yes.
I think so, yeah.
Absolutely.
And before that,
Hey,
I think
Tom, I thought she was going to be on the show.
I didn't say that. I said I reached out to 5.
You know what, man? All you do is dangle carrots.
I mean, I try, Max. What do you want from me? I mean, I'm trying to get it done.
That was a test of your defensiveness. Do you hear how defensive you are?
No. By the way, she's in Jarmusch's Night on Earth, which is awesome too, guys.
Are you enjoying this right now, or are you busy thinking about your personal stuff that's gone on today?
No, Max. I've been hosting the show for the past 2 hours. I'm zoned into the show.
Are you looking?
Are you zoned into
Are
the
you
show?
looking forward to taking a big summer break?
Yeah, but it's going to be cool doing some, mini episodes and having some fun doing some other interviews and stuff like that. So,
Right.
Keeping it fresh, here and there. So, but yeah, I do look forward to.
Can I tell you something, Tom? When you were talking
Sure.
about the pizzeria and your experiences identifying with Do the Right Thing and the way you were explaining that, it's something I never really thought about. And once again, and I hope you won't get defensive or angry or judgmental or whatever or sarcastic. There was that part of me when you were explaining that where I'm like, oh my God, here's more grist for the mill. I mean, you continue to have things that you could write about, create about.
That's true.
The story about the guy. Why won't you just sell me one slice?
Right.
I mean, I just think it's all really good stuff. So I don't know if
You're absolutely right. Yeah, I mean, there's just so much material there, on a daily basis. It's ridiculous, and it's great for me because, and you're right, Max, because I'm in a really great position too, because just like Sal's Famous Pizzeria, it's like an open kitchen. So I'm like up front where the ovens are. So I get to talk to what I love doing is talking to every customer that walks in there and just trying to get something out of them.
That's a book, Tom. That's a book. And the guy you told me, your coworker who was in prison, the Danny Trejo guy. I mean, what a character.
Total
Joe,
character.
what is it about Tom? What is it about Tom? Why doesn't he do anything with this stuff?
Why doesn't he write about it, you mean?
Or anything?
I don't know. What do you want him to do?
What do you
I don't know.
What do you want him to do?
I don't want him to do anything. I want him to do what he wants to do.
What do you want him to do?
Tom, what would you like to do?
Why would you want me to tell you, man? When I feel like doing something, I'll do it. That's the best thing I can say.
Joe, you
Well,
don't
I think
care
he's.
enough to
I
tell
think
Tom
I know.
what you want him to do?
You tell me what you want me to do.
I can't tell Tom what to do.
I want Tom to imagine Rosie Perez's G-string, sweaty, riding high, sopping wet,
Sopping.
pulled like dental floss from between her ass cheeks. Tom, are you imagining this?
Dude,
This is
I'll
what
tell
I
you
want
something.
you to do.
Billy, I'm going to tell you something right now. Listen, I work in Perth Amboy. I work in a pizzeria. Just, poor neighborhood, just like Do the Right Thing. But it's really heavily Latino populated. And I have this newfound infatuation, everyone, listen, with Latino women.
Oh my God. The counselor is your guru for this.
I am I just want to make love to a Latina woman and have her call me Poppy over and over and over again. You know what I'm saying, Adam?
To a man who went to Cuba.
Do I know what you're saying? Until I started dating my wife, I went on a 10-year, 7 years of dating where I almost exclusively it was Latinas.
I'm thinking about going in this direction. But I got to get the confidence because it's like I'm a white dude. I'm a
Adam,
That has
get
nothing to
the
do with it.
confidence.
I'm a big old white dude.
Now listen, this chick came in last
Learn
night.
to salsa, Tom.
Listen, this chick came in last night. She was Dominican. She was attractive, and she was totally digging my vibe. And she was like, "Oh my God, you look exactly like my ex-boyfriend." Blah blah blah. And she was just like checking me out the whole time. I was like blown away that this attractive woman was like checking me out and digging me, and because I have no confidence, because they're just so intimidating. It's like, why would they want to go out with some idiotic white dude? I didn't do anything, and it's like when she left, I'm like, God damn, you stupid idiot! I'm like, why didn't you get her number or give her your number? Blah blah blah. And I'm just like, and then I just get frustrated. Then I become Woody Allen.
Max, could you recreate that scene, please? I'm dying to hear it. Where Tom is serving a beautiful Latina Rosie Perez pizza.
Tom, what is your pizza place called?
Scoratino's.
Good evening and welcome to Scottino's. What can I get for you tonight? Oh my God, you like hot, huh? Sorry. You like, I don't know, you like a big man, but at the same time, you got that Tony Soprano shirt on. You get my fucking pussy wet, huh? I like you. I want to do something with you. Oh my goodness. So would you like some soda pop? We don't sell it by the slice,
I don't want no slice. I don't want no soda pop. I want you, baby. You get me going.
Detloff, get back to work. Detloff, get back to work.
I'll be there in just a minute. Oh, geez, I would really love the opportunity to talk to you.
Talk? I don't want to talk. I want you to slam me up against that pizza oven and fuck me until my eyes roll up in the back of my head.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Don't go! Please! You don't know what I have to deal with tomorrow!
Pepperoni, half sausage, half pepperoni, table 4.
Adam, I want you to tell Tom what he did wrong and tell him how to fix it.
Tom, what you need to do is you need to save up your money, and you need to take yourself a vacation to maybe Costa Rica, Nicaragua, Colombia, where there are so many women that are so into the white dudes.
I've been to Puerto Rico.
I've never been to Puerto Rico, but I can tell you hit Central America, they're cheap. You can get there for cheap. You can stay for cheap. Right. And, these, parts of these countries are certainly third world countries, but there are plenty of parts of these countries that are beautiful and gorgeous beaches and great little Spanish colonial kinds of towns and nice places to stay. And I'll tell you, you'll get your fill of Latin women, all right.
So you're saying,
baby?
Yeah, you're saying just do the vacation thing. Get down there.
Yeah. Sex tourism, Tom.
Explore.
Well, you're going to stack the odds in your favor, first of all, in terms I mean, it's just an awesome vacation that you can budget. And
that feels so good.
You want me to lick your balls, baby? You want me to lick your balls?
Stop.
Yeah.
And Joe,
could you do me a favor first? Could you look into my eyes when you do it? I've been through a lot.
I look into your eyes, baby.
No, this is such bullshit, dude.
Yeah. We're never ending the show.
I look into your eyes, baby.
This show is going to go on until next season.
I got to tell you something. You're giving me a bit of a boost.
You my Tony Soprano, huh? You my Tony Soprano?
Listen, if you could back a little bit on the gag noises. Otherwise, everything else is great. Oh, that's good. Oh, my God. Look, I got to tell you. Oh.
What's the matter, baby?
No, it's okay.
Baby, you going to come for me, baby?
And that is the climax of season 3.
The only thing I'm disappointed is that, Max, your Raymond Burr didn't make an appearance in there anywhere.
Raymond Burr.
Oh, man. Hey, gentlemen, thanks a lot, man.
You're welcome for that.
No,
You're very
way.
welcome.
No way to dismount from that.
I don't even know what to do.
You feeling satisfied, Tom? You
feel like
need to go and have a smoke.
Has been lifted from me.
Like, I don't know what you're talking about, baby.
Joe, season 3 is finally coming to an end. How do you feel?
Oh, I feel fulfilled. It's wonderful. My life is complete.
Well, what I do want to say, over the summer, we're going to we'll let everyone know we're going to be releasing material bi-weekly, right? Until we come back.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's the plan. Yeah,
that is the plan. We're going to do things bi-weekly. We have in 2 weeks we'll have a nice little review of Suture. We're going to.
Oh, that's right.
That we're going to give everyone to kick off the summer, which is nice. And then we're going to be releasing some old horror palace stuff, which is always cool. And we're going to do a couple of interviews this summer, which will also be a lot of fun, Joe. So we do have some stuff that can keep everyone...
More importantly, we're going to go and spend some of the money we made on YouTube, and we're going to drink that up a little bit.
Well, we have to talk about how we're going to do that, Joe.
That's true.
Because I'm getting thirsty. I mean, I just got laid by.
I think we should just send. I think we should all just agree to send Tom to Costa Rica. Does everybody agree on that? Can we just take all our?
I'll chip in for the salsa lesson.
Oh man! All right, listen. Season 3 is
I like
over.
the smell of your ass, baby.
Thanks, everybody. The Cutting Room Movie Podcast is brought to you by Christiana Productions and New Media Limited. The show is edited and co-produced by Joseph Schreck and produced by Thomas Detloff and Joe Christiana. You can like us on Facebook at The Cutting Room Movie Podcast.
I love the Shrek, brother.
And follow me on Twitter, Thomas Detloff at TCRM Podcast. You can also check out Joe's film work at ChristianaProductions.com. Max and Adam's Bowler Productions and their Mimosa Podcast Show. Get over to MaxCookandTheCounselor.com. Music from The Cutting Room is done by the Zillatones.
I love the Zillatones.
That's fun. Max, Miss, can you please say the Zillatones one more time?
The Zillatones.
Check them out at
www.Zillatones.com.
Thank you. Or search for the
Zillatones
at ReverbNation.com.
I love Reverb Nation.
We will be back next September with Season 4. Until then, we are over and we are out. Ciao.